And then just a quick announcement that I did forget, starting in June, you guys, we are going to move to Wednesdays only for our trainings, just for the summer, because we do see that in the summer, it seems that people join a little bit less. So we're going to condense it to, we'll still have our Monday revenue share calls every Monday, and we will do every Wednesday just through June, July, August, and you'll see some different posting to remind you about that. And as always, the first of the month, we put out the monthly calendar. John, I believe, will be here again in June. And July and August. So he'll be here monthly for that as well. So without further ado, we've got John Dietz here. You guys, most of you know Coach John Dietz. He is showing up for us as a leader, as always, in our EXP family tree. And he's here to talk about listings because, again, if you want to continue to thrive in any market, listings is the way to go. Scott, you're right. Dietz does rule. And it's so nice to see you here, Scott. And so you guys, just a quick reminder, because we have so many people here, EXP Family Tree is a great place to connect with people outside of your local area. Get referrals from each other, give referrals to one another, help each other out. If you're missing something in your business, see if somebody else has figured something out that you can use in your business. That is the culture and collaboration of EXP. And we want to continue to have that here in EXP Family Tree. So in the chat, if you'd like, go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where you service clients in case somebody in this group has a referral they could give to you today. And while you're doing that, for those of you that don't know John, give us a 30-second intro because maybe there's some new people here who haven't met you yet.
Thank you, Cari. Actually, I see a lot of people that are my. Oh. Am I good?
Yep.
Okay. I see a lot of people here that are part of Survive to Thrive with me in the morning, previously known as Rainmaker Training and Coaching. So I'm grateful, Cari, that we have so many guests attending. There's this one group of agents from California, Cari, that are on with me every morning at 6 a.m. their time, religiously. And it's led by Nathan Lee, rock star broker for Berkshire Hathaway. They're on the West Coast of the United States. Nathan, you know I'm a huge fan. Smile. I'm looking right at you. There you go. And introduction. So I'm John Dietz. I got my real estate license in 2002. I immediately joined the team, worked on the listing side of the business. Within 6 months, I was listing an average of 8 to 10 homes a month and went on to have a 13-year real estate career, 100% on the listing side of the business. I've never worked with a buyer. I've never written an offer. I've never even read a contract. Everybody's going to jump off the call, Cari. And but there are two things that I'm good at. And fortunately, Cari brings me back to talk about those things because I kind of suck at everything else. So I'm good at lead generation, lead conversion on the listing side of the business. And I am really good at the kitchen table. And I really think that that would be my superpower as a listing agent is nobody's going to know the local market better than I do. Now, that fits right in with the topic of today's conversation, which is be the local market expert in order to take more listings. And Cari, I don't know if did you set it up so I can share my screen? Let's see.
You sure can.
Okay, cool. So on a national level, I am going to look at 4 things. Let's see how good I do. And I brought up the wrong thing first. So let's switch. The first thing I'm going to look at is GDP. And no. Can we push the replay button? The first thing I'm going to look at is unemployment. I got to move this line up here to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Good, I am. And the number that we want is 6% or less. As long as unemployment is 6% or less, then we've got healthy unemployment and things are good. You want to make sure you know what this is. This is part of being the local market expert, the economist of choice, is know what unemployment is currently on a national level, which right now it's right at about 3.7%. So we're good. As soon as this number starts to get above 6%, then we're going to start seeing a negative impact on the housing industry. So this number is important. All right, go to the next picture. Hang in there with me, guys, on my technical difficulties. Stop share. That's not a great way to do this. Go back and do it again. Okay. There's a better way. I'll get it right this time. Well, Cari, maybe not. Hang in there, guys. Third time's a charm.
So you have a preferred source that you go check this stuff on?
Yeah, Google. Yeah. Sorry, Daryl, but that's the truth. Awkward silence.
It's okay. We're all waiting. We're anticipating.
Right?
You want me to grab a guitar, John?
I had this all
Somebody start singing.
I had this all queued up. Hey, you guys go eat lunch. I'll be right back. I'm kidding. Screen sharing has stopped. I've done this so many times, it's not going to let me screen share anymore.
How you doing today?
Yeah.
And
there we go.
I'm driving, so my signal keeps going in and
Oh,
out.
sure. How's it
So
going?
Cari, can you take care of mute?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for that.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, maybe we unmuted everybody somehow.
I think, I hope Sean doesn't say something bad.
I'm here.
Sean, behave yourselves. All right, guys, I'm gonna give you these numbers without sharing screen since I messed that up. So the first thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at the unemployment rates. As I mentioned, you want 6% or less. We're at 3.7% right now, so we're good. The next thing I'm going to look at is GDP. Now, GDP, the ideal number again is right around 2%. We get over 3%, you're going to start seeing inflation. And anytime you have a negative number 2 quarters in a row, you're in a recession. Current GDP right now is 1.1%, a little lower than we want it to be. However, we're not in the negative numbers, so we're not looking at recession numbers, although we want to pay really close attention to that on a national level. And being an expert on the market, being a local economist of choice, being an economist of choice on the national level, is to be able to have conversations with people like this without saying, let me look it up and I'll get back to you. So if you know you're going to be talking real estate, study the market, know your numbers, and really impress the heck out of people when you're able to tell them, hey, so currently we're at 3.4% employment, which is good. We want to be below 6%, and we are, so that's a good thing. And our GDP right now is 1.1%. We'd really like to see it a little bit around 2%, maybe a little bit higher, but not above 3%, because then we're heading for inflation. And when you're having conversations with people at dinner or at a networking event and you're talking real estate, you are showing up as a local market expert. The third thing that I want to look at the national level is I want to look at inflation. And healthy again is 2%. Our current inflation number is 4.9%. Now, that sounds high, but it's actually down from the previous 2 quarters. So we're moving in the right direction at least. However, inflation is higher than we want it to be. Now, the fourth thing that I'm going to look at a national level is housing values. And the national average over the last 30 years is 4%. We're looking at a 4% increase going back 30 years, call it a trend line. Now, right now, the housing values are down 2.7%. That's as of the first quarter of 2023. And that's a national number. So the number could be very, very different depending on where you live. Actually, one of the reports that I pulled up, Cari, showed what this number looked like by state. And it was interesting to see the states that were doing really well and the states that weren't doing so good. And even though you think I'm going to mention a state by name, I'm not. So Idaho is safe today, Cari. Nothing about Idaho. All right.
Idaho rocks.
Yeah, there we go. So your husband probably really doesn't like me, right? Sorry.
He likes you, of course.
All right. So housing values are down about 2.7%. We'd like to see those right about 4% a year. That's healthy. Anything above that, the market's increasing too fast. And what happens when the market increases too fast over time is it's like a magnet, and you've got this housing value here, trend line here, and the trend line wants to pull it down. It's called a correction. And sometimes you can get into an overcorrection. I really want to share this screen. So everybody cross your fingers, because this is the one that I wanted you to see. Hold on one second. I can do it. I know what I need to do. Go to my emails, pull this down on my screen. There we go. Thank goodness, right, Cari? All right, let's make that. Oh, nope. All right. All right, I want you to look right here. This is 2007. We were pretty much at the top of market values. They started to flatten out in 2006. I was selling real estate at the time, and I know at least here in Florida, I can almost tell you the month. It was April of 2006 when we really started to see things change. And what we saw was homes were sitting on the market a little bit longer. We were getting fewer showings and fewer offers. The Dietz team was averaging about 10 active listings at a time. We would list 10 and sell 10. Our biggest challenge was getting our inventory above 10 homes. And within 90 days, we had an inventory of 30 homes. And in less than a year, we were up to 70 homes. And what happened after the market slowed down is in 2007, the values started to drop. And everybody see as I'm pointing my mouse down here towards the bottom. And we got to the bottom around 2012, and then the market slowly started to make a comeback. What I want you to see is it was July of 2016 before we got back to where we were in 2007. It took 9 years. Now, if I'm sitting at the kitchen table, this is absolutely one of the graphs that I'm going to show them. Or better yet, I'm just going to pull out a pencil and paper, and I'm going to draw this for them. And I'm simply going to let them know, okay, here's what happened to the market between 2006 and 2016. Now, the next question is, if we're in a shift right now, is this market like that market? Are we going to see the same thing happen this time as what we saw between 2006 and 2012? And if we did, and you knew that your home was worth more today than it will be for the next 9 years, what would you do? Now, being the local expert is being able to have conversations with people like this, and better than just talking to them about showing them the data that supports your opinion on where the market is, where it's going, and what they might want to do in relation to that. Okay, so the 4 things we're looking at again are unemployment, GDP, inflation, housing values. The magic numbers you're looking for on those 4 items is 6224. 6% or less unemployment, 2% GDP, right at about 2%. Don't want it to go above 3% because now you're heading for inflation. You definitely don't want negative numbers because you're heading towards recession. 2% for inflation, healthy. We're currently at 4.9%, and housing values trend line is about 4%. Now, housing values today, the average median, the median price, the median price for home values in the US today is $292,611. $292,611. Now, in June of 2022, it was $308,336. Who's surprised that the number's gone down between June of last year and April of 2023? Cari, are you surprised? Kind of, sort of, no? Okay. So
probably not just because I've been looking at this, but maybe I would be otherwise.
yeah, I think here's the point. I think, thank you, Cari. I think every homeowner you talk to would be shocked because they think the market we're in today is the same market we were in 2 years ago. Matter of fact, a lot of real estate agents think that, and I'm not saying it's not true based on where you live. It may be true, but I know that on a national level, values are down. And when the average homeowner sees social media posts talking about property went on the market, went under contract in an hour and had 45 offers on it, we all assume, I'm exaggerating, we all assume that market values are doing really, really well. Now, April of 2022, so a year ago, the prices were at $301,794. So they went up slightly between April and June. They've been dropping since. Now, I want you to look at the market in 2007, April of 2007, the median home price in the United States was $182,131. March of 2012, that number had dropped to $135,864. Now, July of 2016, prices were back up to $183,000. It took 9 years for the market to get back where it was before the values started to drop. Really important that you know this, that you're able to articulate this with your clients, have local expert conversations, local economists of choice conversations in order to add more value to your customers. This is part of your unique value proposition. These kind of conversations are how you take more listings. All right, on a local market, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at number of active listings. How many properties are currently for sale in your local market? You can break this down by zip code. You could break it down by city. You could break it down by neighborhood. You could break it down by school zone. I could keep going on. And the more you know, the better. Knowledge is power. I want to know how many homes are currently for sale in my local market. I want to be able to have that conversation with potential customers, with people who are thinking of selling their home. Well, there's X number of properties that are currently on the market. And if somebody asks you, and you're going to get this question a lot as real estate agents, if somebody asks you, how's the market? My answer would be, it depends. It depends on the location of the property. It depends on the type of the property. And it also depends on price range. You could have two homes that are literally across the street from one another in different neighborhoods. One neighborhood is between 500 and 750,000. The other neighborhood is 750 to $1 million. We could be in a seller's market here and a buyer's market here, literally across the street from one another. Really important that you understand this. You understand how to articulate this. You know your numbers. The other thing I'm going to look at is days on market. Of all the active listings that are currently on the market by city, by zip code, by school zone, by neighborhood, what's the days on market for all of the active listings? What's the days on market for all the properties that have sold in the last 6 months? What's the difference between the homes that sold with a price reduction versus the homes that sold without a price reduction? Again, being the local market expert is knowing the answers to all of these questions. The other thing that I'm going to pay really close attention to is list price to sell price ratio. And with all of these numbers, I want to look at the same numbers as they compare to a year ago. So, for example, the number of properties that sold in the last 30 days between $500,000 and $550,000 in Clearwater, Florida, compared to properties priced between 500 and 550,000 that sold in Clearwater, Florida a year ago. How do those numbers compare? How does the list price to sell price ratio compare? In most of the markets that I've been looking at over the last 12 months, we've gone from an average of 102% of list price to sell price ratio to about 97.5% in most markets. That may not sound like a big deal, but it absolutely could be a big deal. And it could be the difference between a property that sold and a property that didn't sell. And I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes. But if I think the market, if homes are still selling at 102% of the asking price, and I think a home is going to sell for 600, so I price it at 625, allowing room for negotiation. And the right price really would have been 590, maybe 595 based on list price to sell price ratio. I've priced the property above the market. I'm fishing with my bait out of the water. I'm not going to get any offers and the home's going to sit. How are we doing so far, Cari? Am I talking fast enough?
Not as fast as me, but fast enough. I'm just.
Oh, Cari, I wouldn't even, that's one competition.
Even try, would you? John?
Guys, I'm serious. Next time Cari gets on a roll, I just want you to pay attention and see if she breathes. I don't think she does.
I don't need to. This is funny because somebody told me the other day, well, this is a while ago, I'm like a goldfish. Anybody watch it's a Netflix series.
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, and he said the goldfish have a short memory. I do have a short memory. That's why I move past any sort of failures or challenges quickly, and I move forward into the future because I forget on purpose. And I said, hey, maybe I'm a goldfish not only because of that, because I can hold my breath. There's a lot of reasons, John.
I love you, Cari. I really do. You're amazing. All right. So list price to sell price ratio. Pay attention to list price to sell price ratio for homes that had a price reduction versus those that didn't. Look at list price to sell price ratio in days on market as well for homes that had a price reduction versus those that didn't. All right, I want to know how many properties sold. I want to know how many sold in my city, in the school zone that I'm in my neighborhood, in a 2 to 3 mile radius around my home. And I want to know how many properties sold within each price range. So one of the things that I'm going to do every month is I'm going to do $50,000 price range searches. I'm going to look at homes that are currently for sale and from $500,000 to $550,000. I'm going to look at single family homes that sold in the last 6 months between $500,000 and $550,000. And I'm going to use this information to create supply and demand. In other words, I'm going to know, sorry guys, I'm going to know if we're in a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day plus supply and demand of inventory. By the way, according to the National Association of Realtors, 0 to 3 months is a seller's market, 3 to 6 months is a balanced market, and anything over 6 months is a buyer's market. According to me, 0 to 3 months is a seller's market. Everything above that is a buyer's market. I don't really believe in balanced markets. If you're in a balanced market, it's not going to last very long. You're heading for a buyer's market. If it was less than 30 days and you're currently at 4 months, you're in a buyer's market. At least you're heading there. So strategically price like you're in a buyer's market. All right. That was a little bit of a soapbox talk. Sorry, Cari. All right. Using data to strategically price properties to beat the competition. All right. Let me explain what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to a flip chart. Cross your fingers. Let's see if I can do this better than I can screen share, right, Cari? All right. We're good. I think we're good. Good. All right. So let's just say since 2012 until now, that's the market we've been in. In other words, the market's doing well. Here's the question. Is this the market we're in? Is this the market we're in? Or is that the market we're in? And if you've been paying attention, in most areas of the country, the market we're in is this one. It's definitely not this one. Now, the strategy that I use is if I have 0 to 30 days of inventory, I'm going to price the property up to 3% above market value. In other words, property market value is $500,000. I'm going to price the property up to $515,000, even though today it's $500,000 because there's a lack of inventory and somebody is going to be willing to pay the price. In other words, more than likely, it'll get bidded up even higher than that if you have less than 30 days of inventory. Now, can you price it more than 3% above market value? Yeah, you can. But one of the questions that you've got to ask is it going to appraise? Because an appraiser doesn't care. An appraiser is just going to value the property based on the properties that have sold within the neighborhood, properties that are currently for sale in the neighborhood. And if the property doesn't appraise and the buyer doesn't have the cash to make up the difference, or if it's not a cash purchase, then it's not going to close. So I would be careful about that, but I think you're safe with 3%. Now, if the market is 30 to 90 days, I'm pricing property at market value. Now, let's just say, so you can see which one is which, 0 to 30 days, that's the market you're in. Market value, 30 to 90 days, that's the market you're in. Now, 90 plus days, where can I put this? You can see it. 90 plus days, I'm pricing the property 3% below market value. In other words, I'm pricing the property where the market's going, not where it currently is. So let's take that same $600,000 home and let's just say, based on today's comparisons, we're looking at a market value of $600,000. Well, 600 times 3% is $18,000. It's rounded off to $20,000. And I would want to price that property at $580,000. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to set your seller up in order to beat the competition. And that's the conversation. We are having a beat the competition conversation, because if you're in 90 days plus of inventory, another way of looking at that is there's 18 properties priced between $550,000 and $600,000, and 5, 6, maybe 4 homes are selling every 30 days. Now, in order to, let's make it 5, we'll split the difference. In order to sell your home, you've got to beat the competition, and you're competing against 18 other homes within a 2 to 3 mile radius of your home. And one of the ways you beat the competition is on price. The other way is condition. You want to be top third in condition, bottom third in price. Now, if you're not top third in condition, then you've got to be bottom in price. And one of the ways to beat the competition is to beat them in price, to price your home where the market's going, because the market may not be there today, but it's going there. And for the seller that says, wouldn't I be giving my home away? Well, here's the question. If you sold your home today for $580,000 and 6 months from now it was worth $560,000, did you give it away? No, you didn't. And more importantly, you sold your home. You're no longer in it. Go back to the graph and show them what happened to the market between 2007 and 2016, and simply ask them, what if this market was like that market? If you went to those sellers who didn't sell their home in 2006, 7, and 8, they still own their home, hopefully, in 2012, and you asked them if you could go back in time, would you sell your home? The answer 100% of the time is going to be, yeah, I would have. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have sold my home. Here's the other thing I want you to look at on this graph is, if you're in a market that's doing this, you price based on the solds. You're pretty much ignoring the actives because it doesn't matter, because the inventory is so low, who cares? Now, when the market starts to shift and the values start to come down, you price the property on the actives. In other words, you're going to look really close at what your competition is because you have to beat the competition. And I'm going to strategically price the property, Scott, in order to make sure that if a buyer has 6 homes to choose from, one of them is going to sell in the next 30 days. I've got the best property at the best price. My home will sell. Let's stop for just a moment, Cari, because I need to take a breath and give all of you guys an opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah. Ahas, questions, thoughts. I don't see any in the chat yet, but you can also, although, yes, Gina, we are in fact recording this and we can send that to you. It'll be live streamed here in EXP Family Tree if you happen to be with us here, or you can find the recording at my YouTube channel, which is just my first and last name, and that will be uploaded within the next few hours. So yes, that is all the same case. No other questions in the chat. So unmute yourself if you have one.
I have a question. I don't know if you can
Hi,
hear me. I'm in the
Joanne.
grocery. Can you hear me? I'm in the grocery store.
Yes, we can.
So the AHA is kind of like putting less emphasis on the markets, which I naturally do to an extent because that's dreamland, right? And so you want proven. And so, you know, being in a market where things are, at least in Tampa, things are a little crazy. Like I'll see something that just makes no sense, but I know you work through it by trying to dive deep and really see what might have been happening in that scenario. Maybe the house sold cash, or maybe the other one had, you know, upgrades that you can't see, but just less emphasis on what's on the market, because, you know, I'm showing these sellers some properties that are on the market and maybe they don't value it as much, or they value their house more. And so just reminding them that that's just dreamland. The market's shifting and we need to focus on what's been proven, and that's it.
Joanne, so I'm in Palm Harbor. We're not that far apart from one another. And depending on what part of Tampa you're in, absolutely, you're definitely in a shift. I would do a supply and demand analysis on every zip code within Hillsborough County. And I would also break it down in $50,000 price parameters, starting at 500 to 550, 550 to 6, all the way up to $1 million, and then $1 million to $1,250,000, all the way up to $2 million. If you're in more than 90 days of inventory, price ahead of the market. If it's less than 60 days of inventory, you could be a little more aggressive. If it's less than 30 days of inventory, price above market value, it'll sell anyways.
Thank you.
Yep.
So John, I have a question, if I may.
Scott.
If I may be so bold. I use this formula in assessing inventory, right? And it's kind of different. I had one in Davenport, my listings, and it's 12 miles away from Disney World. So what I did was I'm using a radius of, because really nothing's out in Davenport. I'm sorry for those of you who are Orlando realtors. There's really nothing out in Davenport except Disney World that's even remotely close or fun, right?
Cows.
So what's yes, you got some cows, you know, you got some ponds with questionable safety. Yeah, but 12 miles radius around Disney World, I put this formula to the test to determine inventory within that, because that's where this house fell. Right. And it's also Airbnb-able. It's got an HOA, but it actually allows Airbnbs. So I wanted that inventory. Was that a wise move, or should I stick strictly to the subject property when I'm trying to assess inventory?
It's a really good question. And you're looking for it's not a traditional home in a traditional neighborhood. It's more of a needle in the haystack home, which means you're looking for a needle in the haystack buyer, which can be very, very difficult. I had a log cabin for sale in Pasco County many years ago. The sellers were so excited because they're like, it's the only log cabin in the state of Florida. It's going to be really easy to sell. I said, it's the only log cabin in the state of Florida. It's going to be really hard to sell. And Scott, it's basically the same message I'm giving you. So you've got this huge Airbnb that's not in Kissimmee. It's not Disney location to the average person who's looking Disney. It's kind of a needle in the haystack property, which means you're looking for a needle in the haystack buyer. My strategy would be after 30 days, I'm going to start having, what would you do if you got conversations with the seller? Meaning if the property is priced at 600, for example, if we got an offer tomorrow for 580, what would you do? Now, if they say sell it, keep asking them the same question until you get to where their heart stops. What if it was 570? What if it was 560? Tell me where your heart stops. At what point are you not selling your home? Now, as soon as we get over 60 days, we're going to get to that price, Scott, because if I allow them to stay on the market more than 90 days, more than likely it's either not going to sell or it's going to end up selling for much less, somewhere between 120 and 180 days.
That makes sense. Yeah. We had the price drop conversation. We've dropped it a wee bit, but I need to have the when does your heart stop conversation.
Yeah, we bet price reductions aren't going to do you a whole lot of good. One of the things that I learned many years ago, and I'm so glad that I learned it, and I still use it today, is price reductions of 5% or 10% or not at all. If we're going to reduce it less than 5%, just keep it where it's at. I
I just did the math. It was not 5%.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of times you got to get into a different pond. So again, part of being the local expert is understanding pricing strategy. And buyers typically are looking in $50,000 increments. So if you've got a property that's sitting at 560, for example, and it's not selling, it might be in the wrong price range. It's attracting buyers who are looking $550,000 to $600,000. And if it's the wrong price range, the only thing you're doing is you're helping to sell the competition. Meaning other properties priced between $550,000 and $600,000 are priced better, and they're going to use your home to justify buying one of those other properties. So just like when you go fishing, Scott, if you're not catching any fish, what do? You change locations. I asked somebody a question one time, Cari, teaching a class, if you're not catching any fish, what do? They said, stop fishing and drink beer. I'm like, no.
Not a good answer.
Not the question, right? So,
Not a bad answer either, though, Cari. I don't know.
I guess it depends.
So typically you're going to find a new location. Well, it's the same thing if you're selling your home. If you're not getting any bites, change the location. So at 560, your location is 550 to 600. You want to change the location and get between 500 and 550. Now you're competing against inferior competition, and the competition is selling you versus you selling the competition. Cari?
Yep, good points. All good points.
All right.
What else? Anybody else have a question or a comment? Don't be shy, you guys. I mean, John's here to answer them, so let's chat through this. I don't see any. I see a ton of live viewers in Workplace, so hi to you guys again. Make sure you chat below if you want us to answer any questions for you guys too. Anybody else live that has questions?
Cari,
John, I have a
Go
question, John.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When you've seen yourself like reducing the price, in your experience, have you seen the offers that come in go over that reduced price? So then the seller does get satisfied with the fact that you guys reduced it, but you got a little bit more than the reduced price?
Nathan, it depends. It's rare where that will happen. And I'm gonna just pick one word that you used and talk about that. So you satisfied, right? Sometimes it's not about the seller being happy with the price. Sometimes it's just about the seller sold their home versus they're still in it 6 months from now or a year from now. And I had conversations with sellers all the time where they were presented with an offer they didn't like. And I told them, you have a choice. You can turn this down and not sell your home. But the downside is you might still be in your home 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. Or you could sell your home, not be happy. You can even be angry. You can even be angry with me, but you sold your home. Mm-hmm. Now, 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe you look at it a little bit different. Maybe now you're glad that you sold your home. But Nathan, it's not our job to make our customers happy. It's our job to sell their home.
That is very interesting conversation, because John, yesterday I had a conversation with one of my partners here, and she said the same thing, which is she feels a little bit torn because people work with her because they love her. They love her personality. They always say how nice she is, and they just love her, you know, her personality. And then when it comes to her having to be very direct with them about pricing and things, she feels as if it's like two different, you know, personalities. And I actually shared that with her because I'm the same way, but I can be very nice and direct at the same time. And I believe those two things can go together, because the caring thing, the kind thing is actually to be truthful. If you have a goal and you want to get somewhere, then whether you want to hear it or not, the kind thing is for me to tell you what you need to know in order to make the decision for you to achieve the goal that you actually told me was important to you. And so that is very kind and caring. You can be direct and honest, and it's a matter of perspective, because see, to her perspective was that wasn't nice until I told her it's actually kind to be able to do it this way. And then when her perspective changed, of course, she felt different about it, which is something you tell us all the time.
You know, Cari, I think this is where, you know, people misunderstand me, because a lot of people comment on how nice I am, right? I'm like, you really don't know me, because I'm not that nice. To be honest with you, I don't care if they're happy. I just want their home sold.
Well, that's what they want too. Bottom line,
yes.
They wouldn't be trying to sell it. Yeah.
Yes. And the less attached you are to the outcome, the better you're going to be at your job. When you're attached, you're going to be really, really bad at your job. And I know that sounds kind of harsh. However, if you're working with a professional, you want a professional who's not attached. Just imagine that you're on an airplane, you're flying from Los Angeles to South Florida, and you hit rough weather and you hear the captain going, "Oh my God, what's going on? What are we going to do?" Right? The captain's freaking out. I'm not good. I want a captain who's like super cool, laid back, calm as hell, not attached. Now, he could be freaking out on the inside, but I don't want to know about it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the same thing with you guys. You don't want to be attached to the outcome. When you're attached to the outcome, you're a really bad negotiator. Read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It is absolutely a must read for everybody that's in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. So, Cari, I could talk more about this. However, I covered everything on my agenda. We seem to have answered all of the questions. Yeah. We have 30 on Zoom today. That's a good group. That's
it was awesome to have you all.
Yeah. And again, I want to just give out a special shout out to those who received my offer to attend as guests, and you're here. I'm grateful for you. And for our regulars like Sean Connolly, glad you're here, but whatever.
Thanks, John. I don't have a camera. I'm sneaking in I'm on my own employee's payroll, and I'm getting paid, and I'm listening on the side over here while I'm doing my business. You know what I mean? I don't want to get caught.
It's all good, buddy. Sean and I are friends. I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
You're all the best. If you're not watching John, you're not getting the full story. If you're not watching John Dietz, you guys, you're not getting the whole story.
I agree with that. I agree.
So you guys, John is here at least once a month. And so we'll make sure, John will make sure you all have access to it. And if there's anything else that you guys would like to, attend, this is open to anyone and everyone. And we do it throughout the year, Tuesdays and Wednesdays for the summer Wednesdays, but all different topics. So if there's something that's of interest to you, John can get you the information. We put out a, kind of an information of here's what's going on for the whole month. And it's the same Zoom link, and anyone is welcome, or you can go just check the recordings out on my YouTube, which is just my name. So thank you guys so much. Great to meet you. John, as always, you bring massive value. We love having you part of our crew and helping everybody. We had tons of people watching live as well. So lots of people impacted today. If you want more information on John's, for those watching live, John, where can they find more information on your coaching, please?
Yeah, Rainmaker Training and Coaching is a public page on Facebook. So just search Rainmaker Training and Coaching. You can follow me on YouTube, John Dietz. And my private Facebook group is Survive to Thrive. I do have a private group that I coach daily. That is by invitation only. There is a charge for that. It's $100 a year. Yeah, right. And if you're interested in that group, it's Coach John Dietz at gmail.com. It's Coach John Diet with a Z at gmail.com.
Oh, okay. So I was typing this and I was typing it privately to everyone, or instead of to everyone. So let me repost this so you guys all have it. And I will also put this out underneath of the live stream for those of you that are watching live, so that you can just go ahead and grab all this if you were driving and weren't able to write that down. So here y'all go right here. And I'll go ahead and copy this. So thanks you guys so much. We'll see you next time tomorrow. We actually, if you're interested in short-term rental investor work, we have a gentleman coming to talk about the top 10 rental markets and why you should be talking to your sphere about that, and how you can be helping people invest in real estate in this time, because that market is actually really still thriving and there's tons of opportunities. So if that's of interest to you, same time, same place tomorrow.
Did you see how fast she did that?
That was it. All right, you guys. Hey, we're over by 5 minutes. So I'm trying to.
Gotta go.
I'm just kidding. Bye. Thanks, you guys. See you so much.